Welcome back to Fluent English, the podcast. I'm Giorgia. Think in English.
And I'm Willem R. Today's episode is really exciting.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the show that we build just for you, where we try to take all the complexity of mastering a language and, break it down.
Into things you could actually use.
Exactly. Actionable insights.
Yeah.
And we know you're here because you're serious. You want to move past that plateau.
The plateau, yes. That place where, your grammar feels correct, but when you speak, something's off.
It feels slow, maybe a little unnatural or stiff.
And today, we are, I think, tackling the single biggest secret. The one thing that really separates advanced learners from people who sound genuinely fluent.
Right. It's this core mystery that so many people face. They think, I know all the grammar rules, so why does my speech still sound, so hesitant?
It's a great question.
It is. We've been looking at some really fascinating source material that details this hidden currency of native conversation.
The currency, that's a good way to put it. It's something native speakers use every single second, but it's almost never taught in a classroom.
And not consciously, anyway. We call it the grammar trap.
And the trap is, it's pretty simple. You study the rules, you memorize all the vocabulary lists.
You do all the hard work.
You do.
Yeah.
And yet when you open your mouth to speak, you're still just too slow.
And the reason is that cognitive load, right? The intense effort of trying to assemble a sentence piece by piece in your head.
It's just unsustainable in a real conversation.
So our mission for you today is crystal clear. We are going to dive deep into this concept of speaking in chunks.
We'll define what they are exactly. These ready-made phrase units.
We'll explain their power, which is honestly revolutionary. And most importantly, we're going to give you the exact training method to start using them and sounding native.
Well, starting today.
The common approach, and our sources really highlight this, is that learners focus so intensely on individual words.
Word by word.
And these meticulously constructed grammar rules. You feel like you have to translate everything in your head first, right?
Yeah, you stop mid-sentence to think, wait, is that the right verb tense? Or should I use this preposition or that one? And only then do you finish your thought.
That whole mental process is just, it's exhausting, isn't it?
It is.
You're basically trying to be a computer running all these calculations at once while trying to have a smooth, normal conversation.
And the result is always the same.
Slow, halting speech. It often sounds unnatural no matter how perfect your textbook knowledge is.
But the promise here today is, it's huge. We're going to explain how mastering just a few hundred of these
chunks,
these ready-made phrases,
can lead to you sounding instantly more natural and significantly faster. Fluent without even thinking about grammar.
So by the time we finish this deep dive, we really believe you won't just understand the theory, you'll have a new lens.
A new way to listen to English.
Exactly. You'll start to hear these groups of words automatically, and you'll start using them. And that truly is where real fluency begins.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this secret, starting with the most basic question. What exactly are these chunks, and why are they so critical for escaping that grammar trap? Okay, so chunks, in the simplest, most functional sense, they're just groups of words that naturally go together.
Right. They're like fixed or semi-fixed phrases. The key, though, is that native speakers don't store them as separate words.
No, they're stored as one single unit. One consolidated piece of meaning.
And this is the distinction that, it changes everything. It's about the entire approach to how you communicate.
So when a non-native learner is building a sentence, they're often trying to invent it from scratch.
Word by agonizing word.
Yes. They pick a subject, then they have to find the right verb, worry about the tense, add a preposition.
And then hope it all connects in the right order.
That word-by-word assembly, that is the root cause of slow, halting speech. You're basically knitting every single stitch of the conversation by hand.
Whereas native speakers, they rarely, if ever, do that. Not in spontaneous real-time conversation.
They're not assembling.
No, they're retrieving. It's memory retrieval. They just pull these ready-made pieces, these established phrases, directly from their long-term memory.
It's a totally different process. In linguistics, they call them things like lexical bundles or n-grams, right?
Exactly, which is just a fancy way of saying common word groupings.
So let's just pause on the results of these two different styles for a second. If you keep learning English word by word,
your delivery will always be a bit delayed. It'll be slow and unnatural. Your brain is just too busy calculating.
But if you shift your focus, if you start collecting and practicing these chunks, these pre-packaged units of meaning.
You immediately start sounding more natural, instantly,
Why, though? What's the mechanism?
because you're just copying the exact patterns and the exact speed that people who grew up with the language use. You're using the finished product, not trying to build it from raw materials.
Now, you mentioned that chunks are fixed or semi-fixed. I think that's a really important distinction. Can we unpack that?
Absolutely, because that's where the real creative power comes in. A fixed chunk is completely set in stone. You can't change it without sounding, well, weird.
Okay, like what?
Think of something like, by the way, it's a single unit. You can't say by the route or by the method and have it mean the same thing. It's a non-negotiable piece used to introduce a new topic.
And then you have these semi-fixed chunks, and these are the real game changers, aren't they?
These are the building blocks. They have a core structure, an anchor, but they let you substitute words in key places, usually a noun or a verb.
Can you give us an example of one of those?
A perfect one is, I was just wondering if you could. The
Okay.
first 5 words, I was just wondering, that's the fixed part. It's the politeness structure. But then you can plug in anything at the end.
If you could lend me your book.
Or, if you could explain that again, the power is knowing that foundational chunk. The rest is just filling in a blank.
Okay, so let's look at those 5 core examples from the sources, the ones you hear all the time, but maybe don't even register as a single unit.
First up,
You know what?
a classic. The perfect conversational opener. When a native speaker says this, they're not actually asking if you know something.
No, it's a signal.
It's a single unit that means, hey, listen to this thought I'm about to have, or I'm changing direction slightly.
Okay, number 2, at the end of the day.
This is a whole ready-made conclusion. It just means ultimately, or when all is said and done.
And if you tried to build that idea with individual words like, the ultimate conclusion after considering all factors is...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would take forever and you'd probably make a mistake. This is just one piece.
Right. Third one was, I was just wondering.
As we just said, a beautiful softening chunk. It introduces a polite question. It holds the complete meaning of polite inquiry without you having to worry about grammar.
Fourth, it turns out that...
I love this one. It's a structure for presenting surprising information.
like a verbal drum roll.
It is. It instantly tells the listener, get ready for a surprise or an unexpected fact.
And the last one, by the way.
The classic fixed chunk. Use it to smoothly introduce something unrelated. Quick, efficient, done.
These 5 really do show how powerful these ready-made phrases are. And to really drive this home, let's talk about the analogy from the source material, the Lego analogy.
This is maybe the best metaphor for language learning I've ever heard.
It's so clear.
Imagine communication is like building a huge castle with Lego blocks. The traditional learner, the one stuck in the grammar trap.
They're trying to manufacture every single block themselves.
Yes. They're trying to invent the subject block, then create the verb block, then figure out the preposition block.
It's a massive amount of effort and time.
And it often fails because the blocks they make don't quite fit together right. They're focused on the molecular structure of the plastic instead of just building the castle.
But the native speaker.
The native speaker has a giant toolbox, and it's filled with thousands of pre-existing ready-made blocks, the chunks.
They aren't creating the at the end of the day block.
No, they just grab that entire preformed unit and snap it into place.
So they can say, at the end of the day, I think we should go. It's just 3 big blocks connected together.
They are connecting preformed pieces to create complex ideas. They are not constructing the sentence from the ground up every single time.
And that's why shifting your focus, moving away from agonizing over grammar rules and toward actively collecting these Lego blocks.
That is the absolute non-negotiable key. It's how you accelerate your fluency and get that natural speed and rhythm.
That shift brings us perfectly into our next big point. We have to talk about the magic of it all. Let's get into the transformative power of chunking.
The magic, as you called it, is really all about cognitive efficiency.
Yeah.
And when you look at the 3 main benefits, they directly solve the biggest frustrations that English learners face.
And the first benefit, this one is a total game changer. It's that chunks completely remove the need for internal translation.
That's the biggest speed killer right there. That process of thinking in your native language, then trying to apply English grammar rules, then speaking.
It's a bottleneck.
It's a massive bottleneck. But since you're storing and recalling the chunk as one single unit, you just bypass that whole painful loop. You don't translate. I was just wondering. You just access the idea of a polite question instantly.
It's like learning to drive, right? At first you think, okay, move foot from brake to accelerator. But eventually you just think go, and your body does it automatically.
It's the exact same principle. Language fluency needs that same automaticity.
Okay, so that leads directly to the second benefit, which is a huge increase in speaking speed.
Of course, because you eliminate that cognitive load. You stop thinking about verb conjugations and prepositions while you're trying to talk.
Your brain stops being this overworked calculator.
And it becomes a super fast retrieval system. It's just pulling files that are already indexed and ready to go. And the research is clear. It is empirically faster to retrieve a 5-word unit than to assemble 5 words one by one.
And that speed is what makes conversation possible.
And the third benefit, and this is the one that really makes you sound good, is that chunks give you natural rhythm and tone.
Right. Native speech isn't flat. It's not a monotone string of words.
No, it has stress patterns, intonation, melody, and all of that is built right into the chunk itself.
So when you learn at the end of the day as one piece,
Your mouth and your ear automatically learn the native stress pattern for that phrase. Your delivery improves, you sound more authentic, just by learning the whole unit intact.
let's use that clear comparison from the sources to really show this in action. The scenario of making a simple, polite request.
Right, so the typical learner, who's often trying to be super formal and correct to avoid making mistakes.
Another symptom of the grammar trap.
Exactly. They might build this very complicated sentence, something like, I am thinking whether it would be possible if you could give me your pen.
Okay, grammatically,
Yep.
it's mostly correct. But listen to it. It sounds so complex and slow.
It screams, I am assembling this from a textbook.
Right. It reveals the struggle. But the native speaker, they're just relying on pre-built chunks.
So they would just say, hey, can I borrow your pen real quick?
So much simpler.
And that's pure chunking. Can I borrow is a chunk for asking permission. Real quick is a chunk for time.
You've communicated the exact same idea in, what, half the time?
With zero cognitive strain about grammar, and you sounded completely natural doing it.
That contrast alone, I mean, that should be enough to make anyone listening right now want to start collecting chunks instead of doing grammar drills.
It really should.
Okay, so if efficiency is the big payoff, let's look at the science of why our brains even prefer this. Let's move into the science and efficiency of language learning.
This is so foundational, and it's what's so often missed in traditional classrooms. Your brain naturally learns language by recognizing patterns.
Patterns, not rules.
Exactly. Not by memorizing abstract, formal grammar rules. It learns through probability.
So when you're immersed in English, when you hear a lot of it, your brain is doing what? Statistical analysis.
In a way, yes. It's constantly calculating. It recognizes that the word to is followed by be honest way, way more often than it's followed by, say, flying giraffe.
Right.
And over time, that high probability pair, to be honest, it gets fused together. It becomes one single functional unit in your memory. That's statistical learning.
And when you look at the efficiency numbers from the source material, it's exponential.
This is where it gets really compelling. The finding is that if a learner can master just 300 to 400 core chunks,
That's it? 300 to 400?
that's it. They gain the automatic ability to express literally thousands of different ideas.
Yeah, hold on. 300 or 400 sounds like a lot of memorization. How is that different from just memorizing a list of 400 vocabulary words?
That is a fantastic question. The difference is the combinatorial power.
The what?
Combinatorial power. When you learn 300 words, you still have to figure out how to connect them. But when you learn 300 functional chunks, you have 300 tools that can be instantly combined with each other.
So if you know the starter chunk, I was just wondering.
And you know the ending chunk.
Yeah.
If you are free this weekend,
You can just snap them together.
instantly, you don't have to worry about the grammar in the middle because the structure is already built in. The effort is all front-loaded. You learn the 400 units, and that unlocks thousands of sentences with zero extra work.
That's a huge return on your study time.
Massive. And the most powerful proof for this whole method is something we all did. The baby analogy.
How do babies learn so fast?
They learn chunks directly from their parents. They focus entirely on the functional patterns they hear with zero grammar instruction.
Right, a parent never sits down with a 2-year-old and explains the present perfect tense.
No, they just provide useful functional patterns for daily life. Give me that. I want more. Come here. It's okay.
And the child hears, give me that, not as a command in 3 separate words.
They hear it as a single sound pattern that gets them an object. They learn the function of the sound, not the grammatical parts.
And that's what we need to do as advanced learners. We have to stop analyzing like linguists and start learning like children again.
Exactly. Focus on the useful, patterned units that serve a real purpose.
This whole idea, it should genuinely change your entire study plan. So now that we know why it works, let's give you some tools. Let's look at the foundational chunks you must know.
Okay, so we've broken these down into categories, and these were chosen because they give you an immediate, powerful boost in confidence and fluency.
Let's start with category 1, conversation starters. These are so important for sounding smooth right from the beginning.
They get rid of that awkward pause of, how do I start this sentence?
Like the very flexible one, you know what?
Right. Using to pivot. Or just signal that you have a thought to share. It's an invitation for the other person to focus.
Or to build a little excitement. Guess what happened?
That's a whole package. It immediately signals a story is coming.
Then there's the more direct one. Let me tell you something.
That signals that what you're about to say is important, or maybe a strong opinion.
And for a softer entry, I was thinking about something.
That introduces a new idea gently. Just mastering these few means you never have to hesitate when you want to start talking.
Okay, on to category 2. Thinking chunks. These are my favorite. They are so useful.
They are indispensable because they do two things at once. They buy you a few seconds to think.
And you sound completely native and engaged while you're doing it.
Instead of saying, wait, which breaks the flow, you use a chunk like, let me see.
Right. It tells the listener you're thinking, not that you're lost.
Or to introduce a main point, especially a difficult one. Here's the thing.
You hear that all the time before someone presents a challenge or the hard truth.
Then there's the more reflective one. I mean, honestly.
That adds a layer of sincerity or deep thought to what you're saying.
And finally, for giving your opinion, the way I see it.
It's a smooth, polite way to frame your perspective.
Next up, category 3. Agreement chunks. Simple, but so important for connection.
They show you're listening and you're engaged.
A powerful, high-energy one is just exactly.
Instant confirmation.
Or a slightly softer version.
Yeah.
That's so true. That shows you relate to what they're saying.
Then there's the one for deeper emotional understanding. I know what you mean.
That's all about empathy.
And for just simple, full agreement, I totally agree.
You need these. They are the glue of a good conversation.
All right, category 4 is clarification chunks. These are your tools for making sure you understand, which is just essential in any language.
They give you control when you feel confused. You don't have to panic.
You just use a preset structure like, what do you mean by the politeness is built in?
Or to confirm you understood correctly. So what you're saying is,
That's a great one. It shows you were listening carefully.
and if things are really complex or confusing, let me get this straight.
So useful for organizing a long story or a set of instructions someone just gave you.
And that brings us to our final category, number 5. Softening chunks. The sources call these the very native touch.
And they really are. Why is that? Why are they so native?
Because a huge part of English conversation, especially in polite or professional settings, is about being indirect.
You want to avoid sounding too demanding or aggressive.
Exactly. If your English is too direct, even if it's grammatically perfect, it can come across as rude. These chunks fix that.
So instead of a direct command like, do this by Friday,
You soften it. You say, it might be a good idea too. The suggestion is still there, but the tone is respectful.
another way to soften is to introduce a bit of uncertainty.
Right. You say something like, I'm not sure, but maybe? This makes your statement less assertive and more collaborative.
And of course, the one we keep coming back to for requests, I was wondering if you could.
It's just so much better than a simple can you. It shows respect for the other person's time and choice.
Just practicing these 5 categories, starters, thinking, agreement, clarification, and softening, that alone will give you a huge measurable lift in your conversation skills.
It absolutely will.
Right.
Now let's connect this to something that often confuses learners. The connection between chunks and pronunciation.
Right, because when you start learning chunks, you're not just learning words, you're training your mouth.
You're training your mouth and your ear to work together at native speed. And here's the key realization.
Native speakers do not pronounce every single word clearly.
Not at all. Not in casual fast speech. If you try to enunciate every word separately, with a little pause in between, you will automatically sound robotic.
Instead, they use what's called connected speech.
They blend, they reduce, and they link words within the chunks. The chunk itself forces the individual words to kind of collapse into each other.
The sources mention some technical terms for this, right? Like assimilation and elision.
Yes, assimilation is when one sound changes to be more like a sound next to it. Elision is when you drop a sound completely, like a T or D, to speed things up.
And the schwa sound.
Ah, the schwa, the most common sound in English. That weak, unstressed sound that replaces clear vowels in fast speech.
It sounds technical, but the beauty is you don't have to learn the rules. When you practice the chunk, your mouth just does it.
Let's use the examples from the material to show this. Take the phrase, "Did you eat yet?"
Okay, 4 separate words. If you say them clearly, it's slow.
But when spoken fast, that deed at the end of deed blends with the Y of you
Yeah.
and makes a Joe sound.
So the whole thing gets compressed into...
You eat yet?
Chew eat yet. Wow, you would never figure that out just from reading the words.
Never. You have to learn the flow of the whole chunk. Here's an even better one. What do you want to do?
6 words. If you say that clearly, you sound like a robot.
But the native pronunciation with all the connections becomes what I want to do.
What I want to do.
Look at all the compression there. Want to becomes wanna. What do you becomes what'ya.
So by practicing what I want to do as one single sound,
You are literally forcing your mouth muscles to adopt native speed and connection. You're training your mouth to be a native speaker's mouth.
the takeaway here is huge. Chunks aren't just about grammar. They are your pronunciation and rhythm training.
You are replacing a mental task grammar with a physical one-pattern practice.
Okay, we know what they are, why they work, how they train our rhythm. Now we had to talk about application. Let's get into the daily chunk training exercises.
And we have to be really clear here. Consistent daily practice is everything. Fluency is muscle memory.
You have to move these chunks from passive knowledge, I've heard that phrase, to active muscle memory. I use that phrase without thinking.
So the first exercise is maybe the most powerful for that physical practice. Exercise 1, the copy machine or shadowing.
So how does that work?
It's simple, but it takes focus. You choose a video or audio clip, a scene from a show, an interview, and you repeat everything the speaker says right after they say it.
But the key is you're not repeating word by word.
Absolutely not. That defeats the whole purpose. You have to repeat chunk by chunk. You wait for a natural phrase to finish, like if, you know what I mean, and then you copy that entire sound pattern, the intonation, the stress, the speed, everything.
That forces you to speak at native speed. You can't pause to think about grammar.
Exactly. Okay, exercise 2 is all about making sure you actually use what you learn. The 5-chunk rule.
This gives you a clear, manageable weekly goal.
Right. Every week, you commit to learning 5 new useful chunks. Just 5. Don't try to learn 50.
And the important part is the application.
The critical part. You have to use each of those 5 new chunks at least 20 times during that week.
Actively use them. In conversation, even if it's with yourself.
If you do that, that's 100 conscious uses. That's how a pattern moves from your notebook into your active vocabulary.
All right, exercise 3 is situation chunks. This is about learning in context.
Because language is most useful when it's tied to a real-life situation. We learn complex words, but then we can't remember how to order a coffee.
So you pick a situation you face often, like ordering food or asking for help at work.
And you focus only on learning the 10 or 15 most common chunks for that specific context. For asking for help, you might learn, could you spare a minute? Or I'm running into a slight issue with.
So when that situation comes up, you're prepared, you have your tools ready.
You just retrieve the chunk. You don't have to invent a request from scratch.
And finally, exercise 4, which shows that incredible combinatorial power we talked about, chunk replacement.
This one is great. You take a single foundational chunk, a semi-fixed one, and you just swap out the last word or phrase to create dozens of new sentences.
So let's use the example from the material. The starter chunk is, I'm not sure if this is.
Okay. Now, you just generate variations by plugging in new words at the end.
I'm not sure if this is possible.
I'm not sure if this is true.
I'm not sure if this is the right way.
I'm not sure if this is a good idea.
I'm not sure if this is helpful.
See? 5 different sentences, all perfectly grammatical and natural, and you only had to think about one new word each time. The chunk did all the heavy lifting.
If you just find 4 new endings for one chunk each day, you can generate 20 sentences and really solidify that pattern.
This is exactly how mastering just a few hundred chunks unlocks thousands of ideas.
Okay, let's make this even more concrete. Let's look at some real-life transformations showing the difference between thinking in words and thinking in phrases.
These examples really show the idiomatic natural quality you get from chunking.
So, transformation 1 is about waking up early. A learner, translating literally, might say, I don't like to wake up early.
It's grammatically perfect, but it's a bit stiff, a bit literal.
The native approach uses a cultural chunk. I'm not really a morning person.
A morning person is a complete concept. It's natural, concise, and it carries a whole cultural meaning of struggle and reluctance that the literal sentence misses.
Okay, transformation 2 about being hungry. The learner says, I am very hungry.
Again, correct, but basic.
The native speaker uses a more dynamic chunk. I could really use something to eat.
The chunk could really use implies a strong, immediate need. It's more active and fluent.
And transformation 3 about letting someone start. The learner might say, you can start.
Which is fine, but it can sound a bit direct, almost like a command.
The native chunk is much more polite and flexible. Whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready is a complete unit of meaning. It gives the other person control and shows respect. It's inherently softer.
These transformations are definitive proof. Fluency isn't just about grammar. It's about adopting these established natural phrase units.
When you make that swap, you instantly sound smoother, faster, and more integrated into the language.
Which brings us to our final and most important point, the ultimate goal here. Syncing in ideas, not grammar.
This is the cognitive shift. This is the destination. When your chunks become automatic, when you can use them without thinking.
You stop focusing on how to build the sentence.
Exactly. Your focus shifts entirely to the core idea you want to communicate. If you need to make a suggestion, you don't think about grammar. You just retrieve the chunk. It might be a good idea to, and then add your idea.
You're thinking in functions. I need a polite request block here, not I need an auxiliary verb and a conditional clause.
And the rewards for reaching that stage are everything we promised at the beginning of this deep dive.
First, you speak faster. Your brain is freed up from all that assembly work.
Second, you automatically sound natural because the rhythm and pronunciation are already baked into the chunks.
And maybe most importantly, your speaking confidence just skyrockets.
Because you know you have reliable, pre-tested tools for any situation. The fear of having to build a sentence from scratch just disappears.
So to summarize our whole deep dive, chunks are the secret. They are the standardized packets of language that make fast conversation possible.
And mastering them isn't just a path to fluency, it is fluency.
It's that simple in principle, though of course it demands consistent practice.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to consider this week.
Since you now know that learning just 300 to 400 core chunks can unlock thousands of ideas automatically, we want you to reflect. Look at how you're currently learning English.
Are you spending most of your time memorizing isolated grammar rules and word lists? Are you stuck in that grammar trap trying to assemble everything under pressure?
Or are you actively collecting these powerful, ready-to-use phrase patterns, these highly efficient Lego blocks?
Your study time is precious. So consider adjusting your focus this week to maximize chunk collection. Use the 4 exercises we talked about: shadowing, the 5-chunk rule, situation chunks, and chunk replacement.
This is your chance to pivot your strategy toward real conversational power, to finally feel that natural flow click into place. We are really excited for you to feel that progress.
Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. Keep speaking
Keep improving.
and keep growing.
And hey, if you found this deep dive helpful, please take just a moment right now to click that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the secrets of fluency.
And share this with any other English learner you know who is tired of sounding slow.
Farewell, and good luck with your chunk training.
Welcome back to Fluent English, the podcast. I'm Georgia. Think in English.
And I'm Willem R. Today's episode is really exciting.